So, one quick thing.
Yes.
This is not a super chat, but I'd like to address this because it's a good question.
Hmm.
He says, "How can anyone have such a strong opinion about something that he's never even experienced?" I think he means seen.
Me with
Uh,
respect to cuties.
right,
Uh
right.
huh.
He's ranted
Yeah.
about it for longer than it would take to become familiar with the subject matter. Well, let me answer that for you. You will find go back through our history of videos. We always encourage people to read and be familiar with the things that they're criticizing because cults tell you the opposite. They tell you not to watch and read the things you're. And when I was a social justice warrior, for example, there were so many things that were off limits to, I held a lot of received opinions about things that were not my own. And so I was told that, Steven Crowder's evil racist, Milo's an evil racist, Ben Shapiro's an evil racist. I held all these opinions that I had never listened to their lectures or read their books or articles or knew really. I didn't have any firsthand experience with any of their material. So I definitely encourage people, and we even say on the show, like, if you're going to criticize something, the more informed you are about it, the better. On the other hand, I also think there are things that you don't need to read firsthand to develop an informed opinion about if you get enough information from other sources. And I think there are some things that are damaging, as I hope I made clear in my opinion about this movie, that I think are damaging to people to expose themselves to. I don't need to watch child porn to have an opinion
That's a
that
great example.
sexualizing
Thank you.
children is
Hmm.
bad. Okay. I don't need to just experience it and then see what I think, right? A kid doesn't need to try heroin to make up an opinion on whether doing heroin is good or bad. There are certain things that we've received wisdom from other people about enough that you shouldn't have to. Now, in my case, in some ways, I had to learn a lot of things the hard way that I shouldn't have learned the hard way. There were things that I did that I tried that I felt like I had to learn and figure this out. I was searching for truth and meaning for a long time in my life, and people have heard me say before, when I finally found God, I was sort of like, wait a minute, Jesus gave me all this wisdom that if I had just listened to this, I would have had to find this out the hard way. And but I think there are things you don't have to harm yourself in order to learn certain things. And so child porn, yeah, I don't need to watch it to know I think it's wrong. And actually porn in general, I think if you look at statistics and data, watching a lot of porn is not healthy for people. And this is coming from someone who used to be in the sex positive feminist community, who watched porn and everything. But if you read the studies about it, it makes it harder for men to have, and I know there are viewers in our audience who've talked about this before. It makes it harder for men to have intimate relationships with the actual real life human women in their lives. When you have a porn addiction, you're looking for harder and harder stuff until you get to this point where it's hard for you to get turned on with an actual woman in front of you. It's got damaging effects, guys. And just because I think it should be legal doesn't, I'm talking about porn with adults, doesn't mean that I think that it's good for people or that you need to watch it. So that's kind of a rambling. I don't know if I made my opinion clear, but I
Well, I
tried
would
to.
like to defend myself. Uh,
Yeah, go ahead.
I do agree with you. I think it's a logical fallacy to say, "Oh, you can't have an opinion on this thing without having experienced it." That's clearly false. Or without having you can't say, "Well, how do you know you don't like snuff films?" Well, I'm opposed to murder, and I don't think filming the murder and watching it is good, and I can rant about it. Now, I did not. So there's the main reason that I'm not watching it. I mean, I'm not super worried about being damaged by it because I'm not. It's not gonna. I'm gonna. If I were to watch it, it wouldn't be over and over and over again. So fine. I don't really want those images in my head. But I also just don't want to support it in any way. I don't want to give the trailer one extra click. I don't want to give the. I don't want to have Netflix see that another person watched it. I don't want to support it in any way. And my criticisms of it, so I read reviews by both sides of this, and my criticisms were based on consensus. There is consensus by both sides about the nature of the scenes that were in this movie and with respect to the sexualization of the little girls. So I am operating off of a consensus that from all the other people that have watched it have described what's going on in these scenes, and they all both sides have a consensus that it's a sexualization of young girls, and that these scenes are inappropriate. One side said these scenes are justified because of the overall message, and after all, we're just terrified of child sexuality. And the other side is screaming that they're not justified. My criticism is based on that consensus. The only possible way, now you can troll all you want and say, well, you haven't seen it, If you want that troll to be effective, what you have to do is point out somewhere in which I am wrong about that characterization of that scene. If you are to say, well, actually, those scenes aren't they're not sexualization of girls. Oh, okay, make that case. But literally no one has made that case. No one has made the case that those are not sexualizing young girls. No one. That's the point of the movie. The producer makes that case. All the people supporting the movie make that case. So my argument stands based on that. I think Carrie is muted, but intentionally muted. Okay. Let's do some more super chats. Brendan McWalters. Thank you, Brendan. Brendan says, Cuties is the logical extension of the insane gender roles outlined by Douglas Murray in Madness of Crowds, i.e. girls are supposed to be able to do whatever they want without consequence or it's sexist. Yes, that's exactly true. That is exactly true.
That's just the guy who asked, he says, I'm not trolling. I don't think you're trolling. That's why I read your question, even though I know, but I'm just saying, even though it's not a super chat, I read it because I think it's a good question. And I think we tried to answer it as best we can. I think it's a good question because I do believe in knowing what you're talking about when you talk about it. And so the question being, what's the difference between saying you should read something that Ben Shapiro's written before you write him off versus you need to watch this movie in order to have an opinion about it? I think Carter answered that pretty well. And if you want to if your argument is that it doesn't sexualize children, make that argument effectively, and maybe you'll change his mind about needing to watch it. But nobody's made that argument. I think that's what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll go watch. If someone makes an argument that convinces me that the trailer actually isn't sexualizing young women, or like convinces me that that's in debate, which I haven't seen that debated at all, then I need to go make my opinion about it, make up my mind if I want to continue talking about it.
And Carter's also, I mean, we're friends. We're not just co-hosts. And I watched one of the objectionable scenes, and I don't think my male friend should watch this scene.
There you go.
So there's an opinion that of someone he trusts is giving him.
There you go. I think it will just make me really, really angry because I'm the father of a young girl. And I think it will make me livid. And I'm already angry enough. Someone was telling me to do squats earlier. Yes, I've got pent up anger right now. So I don't think I need more.